Welcome to the Parsha Perspective. Each week, we will delve deep in a weekly Torah portion to find a practical and insightful way to enhance your daily life. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Rabbi Shalom Yemini, and each week we will look into the weekly Torah portion to find practical and insightful ways to enhance your daily life. This week's Parsha Perspective is in honor of the Refuah Shlema, the complete and speedy recovery of HaRav Amitai ben Shoshanna, Leah Mintche bas Gittel, and Shaul ben Berta. This week's Parsha Perspective is in loving memory of Edward Ben Efraim, Shlomo Ben Edward, and Yirachmiel Daniel Ben Gedalia. May their souls be uplifted and may their memories be a blessing. This week's Parsha Perspective is in honor of Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, known as the lawyer of the Jewish people. The anniversary of his passing, his Yahrzeit, is on the 25th of Tishrei, the release date of this episode. His love for every single Jew, no matter the level of religiosity, is an example for all of us to follow and pursue. Reb Levi Yitzchak recognized the godly soul within every Jew and understood their significance to God. May his memory be a blessing and may be a lawyer for all of us up on high. I hope we all took advantage of the incredible spiritual journey that began in the month of Elul and culminated at Simchas Torah. For it is this spiritual awakening that gives us the necessary motivation to keep going for another year. As we enter the new year with a clean slate, we also restart the cycle of the reading from the Torah, beginning with Parshas Bereishis. However, we must understand that it's not just a physical cycle, but a spiritual one. We have the opportunity to gain a deeper and more profound insight and understanding of the Torah and its lessons. Each year, a unique level of spirituality is given to the world which is relevant to that day and age. This week's Torah portion is Parshas Bereishis, the dichotomy of emotions. Our Parsha and the Torah begins with the very famous words, Bereishis bara Elokim es hashamayim ve'es haaretz. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. The Parsha then goes through what was made on each day. On the first day, God created darkness and light. On the second day, He created the heavens and separated them from the earth. On the third day, He created land, sea boundaries with trees and greenery. On the fourth day, He created the sun, moon, the stars, and positioned them in their specific location. On the fifth day, He created fish, birds, and land animals. On the sixth day, God created the first human being, Adam HaRishon. And on the seventh day, as we all know, God rested and stopped working and sanctified it as a day of rest as Shabbos. However, a question comes to mind. The Torah is not a history or record book, yet it begins with a detailed account of how God created the world from nothing. In theory, the Torah should have started with laws and commandments, with mitzvahs. Why does the Torah begin with the creation of the world? Rashi Rav Shlomo Yitzchaki, the leading commentary on the Torah, gives us a simple explanation. He writes that the Torah begins with an account of creation to show the world why we, the Jewish nation, are Israel's rightful and legitimate owners. How we were enslaved in Egypt and redeemed by God through Moshe Rabbeinu to settle in the Promised Land. Rashi explains that God begins the Torah with the creation of the universe to demonstrate the significance and importance the land of Israel has to the Jewish nation. From our first forefather, Avraham Avinu, willingness to sacrifice his only son, Yitzchak, on Har Moriah, on Mount Moriah, the Temple Mount today, where the Beis Mikdash was, and will, B'ezrat Hashem, please God, be built in the same exact place. The Jewish people always had and will always have an intrinsic and inherent connection and right to the land of Israel. In honor of his Yahrzeit, I will quote Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev from his sefer from his book Kedushas Levi, a commentary on the weekly Torah portion based on Hasidic philosophy. He gives a deep and profound explanation, and he writes that the Torah begins with the account of creation to demonstrate God's love and devotion to the whole of mankind. For all of his amazing, magnificent, and wondrous creations that he created, nothing is compared to the creation of mankind. Because only we are capable of fulfilling his most profound and deepest desire, a spiritual home in this physical world. Rebbe Levi Yitzchak explains that this understanding should evoke two sets of emotions, completely different sets of emotions. On the one hand, ego and pride, for we are the purpose, we are the intention of creation. However, on the other hand, humility and humbleness as we recognize the responsibility, the duty that lies on our shoulders. Rebbe Levi Yitzchak gives a powerful mashal, a powerful parable to explain this dichotomy of emotions. Once a great and powerful king invited one of his most trusted servants to accompany him to his treasure chamber. When they arrived, the king showed his servant the crown jewels and explained the significance of the many valuable artifacts in the treasure chamber. The servant was in high spirits and immensely joyful as his king personally asked him to escort and attend to him as he viewed his treasures. Yet upon reflection, the servant became overrun with feelings of lowness, with feelings of humility. How could he ever live up to the expectations of his noble king? When the king overheard of his servant's dilemma, he called him into his throne room for a private audience. The king explained to his servant that although his expectations may be great, his belief that his servant will exceed those expectations is far greater than the expectation themselves. The king has expectations in the first place because he knows that his citizens, his people, his servants will surpass and exceed them. Reb Levi Yitzchak explains that this is the conversation we must have with ourselves. On the one hand, we are the purpose, we are the intention of creation. We are unique, exceptional, and unmatched within God's creations. On the other hand, all the responsibility and obligation lies on our shoulders. But all that burden is nothing relative to how low and tiny we are in comparison to God. Yet nevertheless, God chose us. He believes that we are capable, adaptable, and knowledgeable enough to exceed his expectations and fulfill his deepest desires. The whole reason for God's eminence, nobility, and regalness, says Reb Levi Yitzchak, is there for us to recognize the Jewish power, the strength, the adaptability to achieve and exceed God's expectations, God's aspirations, and God's intention for his creation of his world. In our daily life, we must realize that the intention of the challenges we face is to awaken the strength and energy we didn't even know we possessed. To demonstrate that we are far more capable than we thought possible, to realize the deeper purpose of our creation, to sanctify God's holy name. There is an extremely powerful quote from the holy Reb Levi Yitzchak. Stalking sin and pursuing good are admirable quests, but be sure to look for the sin in yourself and for the good in others. Have a great weekend and good Shabbos.
Thank you for tuning in to the Parsha Perspective. Check out our website, theparshaperspective.com. Send thoughts and comments to theparshaperspective@gmail.com. Till next time, thanks for listening.